But let me tell you that in knocking on doors and being in the plazas and talking to people to make sure that I'm as sensitive as I need to be if I miss something. And those in the black community have told me that how much more love they have for the Prime Minister, that he wanted to have a black, but he took great pride in that too. And that it's the media that have blown this into something that it shouldn't be. And that they are very supportive, and they're actually looking for finding more ways that they can show how much they support and love the Prime Minister.
So that was Judy Sgro. She's a Liberal candidate here in Ontario, not only excusing Trudeau's blackface, but defending it. Look, I wasn't going to make any more videos about this, not because I don't think it's important, but because I wanted to focus on the positive in this election, how Jagmeet Singh is offering a great alternative to both Scheer and Trudeau. But this moment cannot go without comment. It is truly despicable that Liberals on a local basis are not only excusing what Trudeau did, but painting it as a positive. Now, this isn't getting play in the national media because it doesn't play well, but door to door, Liberals are trying to say that Justin Trudeau did this to relate to people of color, did this to be like them. It is absolutely absurd, and it is the height of offensiveness. And this isn't the only instance recently of Liberal racism in this campaign. Jaime Batiste, who's a candidate out in Cape Breton in Nova Scotia, has made recent remarks in the past few years which have been deeply misogynistic and have been deeply discriminatory against Indigenous people specifically. And the Liberals did not turf this candidate. This all came out, and they did not remove him from his position. Now, I'm not defending the Conservative Party at all, but they had a candidate out west in Burnaby who has come out with homophobic remarks and was booted from her position. And so from that alone, it looks like the Conservatives of all parties are more willing to act to remove hateful candidates than the Liberals. This is the Liberal Party. People want you to think a couple things in this election. They want you to think that what Justin Trudeau did is in the past and there's no connection to today. And people also want you to think that what Justin Trudeau did is in no way affiliated with the Liberal brand. But the more and more we see, the more and more that story doesn't hold up. Justin Trudeau's actions confirms, in my view, that he sees some lives as worth less than others. Indigenous lives most of all. And when you see stories like this, you see Liberals like Sgro and Batiste either excuse racism, celebrate racism, or perpetuate racism. You have to realize that racism is sort of baked into the core of the Liberal Party. Maybe people didn't expect it to be. Maybe people thought that was the case of the PPC. Or maybe people thought that was the case in, the Conservative Party. Maybe people thought that was the case in those parties, but not the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party didn't have that problem, but it does. Justin Trudeau's actions before and as Prime Minister, they dehumanize people. They marginalize people. They tell people that certain lives are worth more than others. They tell people that clean water is a necessity for settler communities, but not for Indigenous communities. And you have people like Sgro who defend and celebrate. She is celebrating a racist act by the Prime Minister. That's what she's doing. She's lying right here. She didn't hear this from her constituents. And if she did, she heard this from such a small proportion of people as to be meaningless. And she's trying to effectively say that black people in her community celebrate Trudeau for doing this. Now, it might be the case that some don't think it's a big deal. And it might be the case that some have forgiven Trudeau for that. But I can almost guarantee you that no one is celebrating Trudeau for doing black/brownface. No one is. No one is. At best, they don't care. At best. And with Batiste, I have to underline this again. The Liberals have a candidate who in the past few years has made numerous misogynistic and racist comments, and they have not removed him because they would rather give him a seat in Parliament than do the right thing. It's as simple as that. This is a party that so much wants to claim the mantle of progressivism. You had Justin Trudeau on stage try to criticize Jagmeet Singh in the last debate for not doing enough to fight racism. It's all bullshit. This party is aligning itself with racist forces. Its Prime Minister has committed racist acts, and as Prime Minister, he continues to dehumanize non-white Canadians Indigenous people specifically. You have people like Judy Scrow, who celebrate blackface, and you have people like Jaime Batiste, who have in the very recent past used extremely, extremely hateful language of some of the most marginalized people in our country. This is a party that has a deeply, deeply ugly face when the mask comes off, and the mask is off. And so right about now, a lot of progressive Canadians are wondering, how am I going to vote? Should I vote strategically? Well, I have a couple things to say on that. One, Jagmeet Singh has made it very clear that in this election, you have to vote positively. You can't vote out of fear if you want to bring positive change. You can't vote out of fear and pessimism if you want to push towards a bright future. So vote for what you want. Vote for the NDP if you want positive social change, if you want to tax the rich, if you want pharmacare, if you want dental care, if you want childcare, if you want to end student loan interest. You have to vote for something instead of against something. But I have to say this, and I have to say this very clearly. How is it strategic to vote for a party that celebrates blackface and that revels in misogynistic and anti-Indigenous comments? How is that strategic? How is that strategic to vote for a party that dehumanizes millions of non-white Canadians, be they racialized people or Indigenous people, or both? How is it strategic? And the answer is, it isn't. At the end of the day, the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party both have a fundamental disrespect for the marginalized. Be they marginalized on terms of race or indigeneity, or be they marginalized in terms of income. Neither of these parties are fighting to tax the rich. Neither of those parties are committed to racial justice. Neither of those parties have committed to meaningful reconciliation. Neither of those parties are building the pharmacare and dental care working class people need, poor people need to live a dignified life. Neither of them. And while you might be able to say that on some issues the Liberals are better than the Tories, and you wouldn't be wrong, it's not a strategic vote to vote for racists. It's not a strategic vote to vote for people who excuse racism or celebrate it or perpetuate it. I'm done with that. This is the Liberal Party. Scrow is not an outlier. This is not an outlier statement. This is the Liberal Party as it doesn't want to be seen, but as it exists.